We got another Caleb and Sophia video to review. Lots of you probably know Caleb and Sophia by now, but if you're new to my channel, I'll just give you a quick overview. These are cartoons created by Jehovah's Witnesses to indoctrinate children. Everything is made completely in-house by Jehovah's Witness teams. They're told to show the videos to as many kids as possible, Jehovah's Witness or not. Tell the parents they're just useful life lessons about things like obedience or being humble or lots of other stuff. At face value, these two personality traits seem useful to everybody, but Jehovah's Witnesses take it to an extreme. They're trying to modify their members' personalities, to turn them into clones of each other, to make them who they want them to be. So let's take a look at Caleb and Sophia, lesson 30, Enduring Loss. It doesn't have any voice, it's music only, with some still images. So let's take a look and see what subtext they're trying to communicate. Let's get into it. So this video starts out with a leaf falling from the tree outside the Kingdom Hall. Seems to me like it's fall since the leaves are falling and they're a different color. Inside the Kingdom Hall, Sophia is with her mom in front of the stage where a table sits with a picture of... oh no. Please tell me it isn't true. Sister Elsa. They killed off a main character. I can't believe Sister Elsa's gone. Although actually they did another episode a while back about Sister Elsa and how she was in the hospital and dying. I think it was called The Ransom or something like that. It was trying to answer the age-old question, why doesn't God do something to stop suffering in the world? A perfectly valid and unanswerable question. Either he's not all-powerful or he's not all good. That's really what it comes down to. But anyways, I thought Elsa died in that episode. I guess this episode is about the aftermath. What do you do when a friend or family member dies? Let's see how Jehovah's Witnesses use people's deepest desires against them. Sophia's looking at pictures of herself with Sister Elsa. Of course, her dad walks up with a Bible to try to reinforce her faith. He tells her a story of people all sitting around with Jesus eating food together. I think. It's honestly kind of hard to tell, but it looks like their cookie-cutter depiction of Jesus. Something I want to make note of, though, is the fact that all the males in these snapshots have beards, something Jehovah's Witnesses aren't allowed to have. Honestly, something I wish I could grow. I mean, I can grow a beard, but it comes out looking like garbage. It's terrible. Nobody wants to see me with a beard, not even me. Anyways, the founder of the religion, Charles Taze Russell, had a big, bushy beard. Back in the late 1800s, when this religion was first created, it was named the Bible Students. Time passes, middle. Charles Taze Russell dies on Halloween night in 1916. There was some conflict about who would run the church after he died, but Joseph Rutherford ended up taking control and passing bylaws to strengthen the president's power. Then in the early 1930s, he basically did a hostile takeover and renamed the religion from the Bible Students to Jehovah's Witnesses. But some people refused to accept the name change, and the Bible Students actually still exist today. There aren't that many of them. Jehovah's Witnesses believe 144,000 people are going to be raptured to heaven when Armageddon starts, but the Bible Students believe that too. It's just such a small religion that there aren't 144,000 members yet. So they think once they reach 144,000, Armageddon will start. Jehovah's Witnesses think everybody else will live on Paradise Earth. Bible students are more preoccupied with the fact that they're all going to heaven. Anyways, Rutherford wanted to eradicate any challenges to his power, so he even went as far as banning beards because he didn't want anybody reminded of his predecessor, Charles Taze Russell. That's why Jehovah's Witnesses aren't allowed to have beards today, but they still depict Jesus as having a beard. Isn't that interesting? So it's like they know there's nothing wrong with having one, and they think Jesus had one, but they still ban them. The reason I heard cited to me by the elders for it was that it makes you look less neat and clean, and as God's people, we want to stand out as exceptionally neat and clean. Now, bear in mind, it's kind of regional at this point. I've known some areas of the world where it's really cold, and some men have beards to keep them warm. As far as I know, though, they can't serve as elders or ministerial servants or anything if they have a beard. So anyways, the whole point here is that the beard ban isn't biblical at all, not even a little bit. It was entirely to strengthen the control of one of the dictator-like presidents in the early days. Just a little fun fact here before we continue. Here's a mugshot of Joseph Rutherford. He was being watched by the FBI because of his anti-war position during World War II. Charles Taze Russell, the founder, was a Zionist and believed that Jewish people were God's chosen people. But Rutherford was kind of the exact opposite. He spoke highly of the German regime and even wrote a letter to that person whose name starts with an H that I'm not going to say because I don't want to get demonetized. Of course, it didn't really end well for him because the German regime kind of targeted Jehovah's Witnesses too. Not in mass quantities, but a little bit. It's estimated that about 10,000 Jehovah's Witnesses were imprisoned in Germany during World War II. 2,000 were sent to camps of the concentration variety, run by people who believed in ideals that start with the letter N. About 1,200 died in custody, and 250 were actually killed by those people. You know what? Fuck it. Sometimes, if it's necessary, I'll use the words. To hell with monetization. 2,000 were sent to Nazi concentration camps, 1,200 died in custody, 250 were executed. Compare that to a total of 6 million Jews. Millions were killed in camps. Death on any scale is absolutely unacceptable. It's disturbing to me that anybody could justify killing anybody in the name of anything, especially when religion is the justification. But I want to make sure to keep it in perspective here. Jehovah's Witnesses weren't persecuted on the same scale as Jews were during World War II, and it's a disgusting misrepresentation to say they were. Now, back to what I was saying about Rutherford. He wrote a letter to Hitler during World War II expressing his support. In 1933, the German regime seized Jehovah's Witness property and banned them. Rutherford wrote a letter of praise to Hitler to try to get him to release the property and the ban. We have a copy of the letter, but it's in German, and I don't know German. But there's an English translation. I'll give you the highlights. Basically, it says, "The Watchtower Society is pro-German in an exemplary way and has been so for many years." Remember, this is right in the middle of World War II. It continues on to say, "The Bible researchers of Germany are fighting for the very same high ethical goals and ideals which also the national government of the German Reich proclaimed respecting the relationship of humans to God, namely, honesty of the created being towards its creator." Some very disturbing stuff. Of course, it didn't work. Joseph Rutherford just ended up showing his support for Hitler in vain. And now, we have evidence of it today. I really had no idea this was a thing when I was in the religion. They speak so well of Rutherford. They speak well of Charles Taze Russell too, but they don't talk about him as much. Anyways, kind of got off on a tangent there. I should probably take the opportunity to shout out my Patreon and my Teespring. I just made some cool designs for shirts and stickers and posters and whatnot, so check those out. Also, check out my Patreon, because like I said, I never know what YouTube's gonna do. It's pretty unpredictable. And one more thing, I'm gonna be at the American Atheist Convention in Cincinnati, Ohio on April 20th, so if you want to meet up there and hang out, I'll have a table. Come say hey. Okay, now back to the Caleb and Sophia video. So we left off on this video with Jesus sitting around with some people wearing a big bushy beard, contrary to Jehovah's Witnesses' doctrine. Now, I'm not exactly sure what they're depicting here because I skipped ahead in the video a little bit to try to get an idea of what was happening, and it confused me. But what we see next is some women standing at a cave, peering in, and some people pushing a rock in front of it. At first, I thought it was Jesus eating the Last Supper, and then the women standing at Jesus' gravesite as his tomb is sealed. But next we see people opening the cave and some guy that appears to be Jesus making an appearance outside. Then the guy walks out of the cave. I assume they're trying to depict the story of Lazarus being raised from the dead, and then Jesus hugging aforementioned previously dead guy. Next, we see a series of images. Caleb and Sophia holding their hands up to answer at the question and answer part of the meeting. Then we see the dad and Sophia knocking on doors together, and finally, it depicts Caleb wrapped in toilet paper or something, presumably depicting Lazarus being raised from the dead. And that's the end of the Caleb and Sophia episode. Of course, they show their logo at the end. One of these days, I'm gonna count up how many times they show their logo in the Caleb and Sophia video series. So what can we pull from this subtext? What did they intend to convey? The video starts out depicting a death. It shows how forlorn the child is over the death. Something that people deal with every day. Death of family or friends. Next, it shows the dad reading a Bible story to her in an attempt to console her. The Bible story is ostensibly the one of Lazarus being raised from the dead, but either way, it's somebody being raised from the dead. And then it shows the kids throwing themselves deeper into the religion by answering at the meetings and knocking on doors. What's the point behind the story? The point is that you need to throw yourself into the religion and follow all the instructions of the governing body members. If you invest yourself in it completely, you have a chance of seeing your dead friends and family again. I think I mentioned this in a recent video, but I was going through their new book on my podcast, Pure Worship of Jehovah, and in the book, they actually said that knocking on doors is the new animal sacrifice. You have to go in service to make it through Armageddon. That's different from what it used to be. Now they're essentially buying their way into the new system, or buying their way through Armageddon, by investing their time and work in the Watchtower Society. I mean, they've always said that faith without works is dead, but I feel like this is taking it a step past that. And whatever happened to "for it is by grace you have been saved" through faith, and this is not from yourselves, it is the gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. Ephesians 2:8-9. Should we follow that one, or should we follow James 2:26? For as the body apart from the spirit is dead, so also faith apart from works is dead. There's a verse in the Bible to support every position. There's a verse to support killing people in certain cases, and a verse to condemn killing in every case. There's a verse to support loving everybody unconditionally, and another to support hating certain specific groups of people. There's a verse to support shunning, and a verse to condemn it. Personally, I think we'd be better off if we threw out the entire Bible and used our own moral judgments based on scientific fact. Which is more healthy, shunning your son because he believes differently than you, or accepting him for who he is? Which is better, accepting your uncle as gay, or attaching yourself to some archaic verse buried in the Old Testament that not only condemns homosexuality as evil, but also condemns wearing cotton and linen blends in the same chapter? We should be using our own moral judgments, not employing the moral judgments of cultures from thousands of years ago. Anyways, that's all I've got for you. Don't forget to check out my Patreon if you like the work I do and you want to see me keep doing it. YouTube is really volatile, and I rely on Patreon to give me the sense of stability I need to keep doing it. Also, check out my Teespring store. Since we're talking about how stupid it is to treat people differently for their sexuality, I should mention the pro-gay shirts and stickers I designed the other day. I just added a bunch of other cool shirts and stickers and posters and all that too. Most of them reflect what it feels like to be shunned. I'm sure a good number of you know what that's like, and I don't see enough of those designs out there. I also have the odd political one here or there, so if you want to express your feelings on the US political system in a really passive-aggressive way, there's a bumper sticker for that. Not to mention coffee cups and all that stuff, so check it out. Also, as I said, I'm going to be at the American Atheist Convention on April 20th. I'll have a table set up there and everything. If you guys want to come meet me there, then that's pretty much what I'll be doing the entire time, meeting fans. Come hang out with me. Holy hell, I have a lot of announcements. 2 more to go. I've been uploading videos to Facebook before I upload them to YouTube, so if you want to see my videos before anybody else, then you can either sign up on my Patreon to get early access, or you can go to Facebook. Also, I have a podcast I mentioned earlier where I talk about all kinds of interesting stuff, including but not limited to politics, games, and I even read extremist literature, so check me out there. Okay, that's all of them. Links are in the description as always. Thanks for watching, guys.